Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video we're going to talk about something fairly important for portrait lighting. Light and shadow. Light and shadow are very important for portrait lighting because with both we can define a 3D form. And this 3D form are what we needed to add a third dimension to a 2D image. Not only we need both light and shadow, we also need to have a full control of them. Because if we can control the light and shadow, we can control the contrast of the image, and then we can control the mood of our photo. And this level of lighting control is way beyond using a flash just to fill the shadow of your subject. And then how can we control them? For the light, it's easy because we have our flash. We can put our flash from any angle with any level and then to adjust the brightness. So it's pretty straightforward. But how can we control the shadow? That's actually a lot more complicated. So two things we need to do. The first, we need to protect the shadow because this happened to many new photographers. They basically put the light in a position, actually they kill all the shadows. If there's no shadow, there's nothing for you to manage. But let's say we put a light at the right position, so we properly protect the shadow. But how can we manage it? How can we make it brighter or darker so we can get to the ideal contrast that we want? Well, then the answer is not on the light anymore. It's actually in your camera, which is shutter speed. To show you what I mean by that, I want to do a quick demonstration. So first I want to show you the lighting setup. So this is a Godox AD200 flash, and then I just show as a bare ball. And then I put the light bouncing on the wall so the light can be a little bit softer and bounce back. And then we have some ambient light, basically the window light and plus the light inside of the room. And then I just use this as a demonstration. So this is our subject. So first let's do some test shot. So my camera setting is ISO 200, shutter speed, the aperture is f1.8, and then I use shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. And so let's do a first test shot. Okay, so this is the shot we got. So we have this amount of shadow and light. So now let's see what happens if I slow down the shutter speed to 1/50th a second. So now you can see the shadow is a lot brighter. And then let's see what happens if we slow down the shutter speed even more. I do it down to 1/25th a second. So you can see right now the shadow is even brighter. It's almost give us this like a washed out look. Okay, now let's see what happens if we make the shutter speed faster. And then let's first go back to the original shutter speed, which is 1/100th of a second. We'll do another shot. This is the first shot we took. And then let's say we make the shutter speed of 1/50 or 1/60th of a second. Okay, you can see now we add more shadow. Shadow appears darker. We have more contrast now. Let's see what happens if we make the shutter speed even faster by 1/200th second. So you can see now the shadows are even darker. So this is exactly what I mean, how to use the shutter speed to control the shadow. So when we put these 5 photos together, you will see something very interesting. What I mean is like the level of the shadow is different because we adjust the shutter speed, but the brightness of the light is exactly the same. And then how can we control the light then? Well, like what I said, it will be very easy. If you want to make the light brighter, you can just use the remote to just add more power to the flash. Then you can make the light brighter. And then you can use your shutter speed to make your shadow darker or brighter. So this way you have full control. You can have any level of the light and shadow, and then you combine them together. You can achieve any level of contrast that you want and use that to get to whatever the mood you want to create for your photo. So it all sounds perfect, right? And this process actually, it works 100% of the time. It guaranteed it will work 100% of the time. But it has one drawback. There's a limitation there. So the limitation is the sync speed. Because you can tell, like my shutter speed, the fastest shutter speed is 1/200th of a second. Why is that? Is because that's the sync speed for this camera. So why sync speed is important is because once the shutter speed is faster than the sync speed, the camera start working differently. So normally your shutter is kind of like, it's like a gate, it's open and closed. So when your camera shutter speed is lower than the sync speed, every time you click, the shutter will fully open and fully close. So the benefit of doing this, because the ambient light is constant light. So once you make the shutter speed faster, So then the less light coming onto the camera sensor, so it appears darker. But for the flash is different because flash the duration is very short. It's like it depends on different brand of flash. Sometimes like it depends on your power output as well. It could be like a 1/6000th of a second. It's super fast. So the shutter open or close, no matter how fast or slow, it has zero impact on the light output of the flash. So your shutter speed has no impact on the brightness of your flash. But that's only the case when your shutter speed is lower than the sync speed. When it's higher than sync speed, something happens. Is your shutter never fully open. Like for example, you're shooting 1/2000th of a second. So that what happened is like the shutter never fully open. It just opened a little gap. It scans through the sensor. So if this works totally fine with ambient light because ambient light is constant light, but this is going to be a problem for the flash. If you always open a little gap and the flash only pop once, so what happened? You're going to see this light band on the photo because only that little gap has the flashlight can cause exposure. So in order to compensate that, so the manufacturer designed this thing called a high speed thing. So basically, as the shutter open a little gap, scan through your sensor, the flash will pop multiple times. So it's not only one time. And well, it seems like a perfect solution, but it has a problem with it because when your shutter speed is so fast and this scan is very fast, the flash had to pop many times. And in order to keep up, so make sure that the flash can keep firing, the flash had to reduce the flash power in order to keep up with it. It's called the recycling time. So apparently when you're shooting high speed sync, even if your trigger telling you, okay, you're shooting at maximum power, but actually you're not even near shooting at maximum power. In order to keep up with this like multiple flash popping, they have to reduce the power to much lower than the maximum power. So what does this mean? First, your flash gonna work less effective. But that's not the problem with like a shadow and light control. The problem with shadow and light control is like once you start changing your shutter speed and then you're already outside of the sync speed, your shutter speed not only gonna affect your ambient light, which is your shadow, it also gonna affect your highlight. So now things become more unpredictable. So this is why, like, I always recommend people use ND filter because once you use ND filter, things just way easier, a lot more straightforward. It's very easy to control. Once you're shooting with ND filter, you're everything back to normal. The flash is not going to be affected by the shutter speed. So you can use your shutter speed just to change the shadow and use your flash just to change the highlight. One more thing I will mention. If you look at those 5 photos that we took, and if you pay attention, you will see that like not only the shadow on the subject's face changed because the change of shutter speed, actually the background changed as well. This is because the light on the background is also relying on ambient light. So if you change the shutter speed, you're going to change the exposure on the background as well. So even if this process works 100% of the time by controlling the light and shadow, you need to make sure this also works with the background and with your composition. If you want to learn more about how exactly they integrate this process in the real world shooting to make sure this work with the background, work with your composition, I highly recommend you to check out my online course. In that course, I demonstrate on shooting on many different lighting conditions like a sunset, midday, or either in the beach or in the city, working with different models, and then you will see how exactly I manage this particular process with the background, with the composition, and everything together. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.